Almost 13 years ago, one of Minecraft's most fundamental features was first introduced to the game, and it was so broken that looking back now, it's shocking it was even added in the first place.
I've been sitting here clicking for like 4 hours.
Completely RNG based, excessively grindy, and immensely frustrating over a dozen years later, let's just say we are lucky we no longer have to deal with it.
Is it really though? Is it really worth all that effort?
Some of you may be old enough to know what I'm talking about, whilst a lot of you will be in for a rude awakening. Let's discuss Minecraft's once absolutely broken enchantment system and how I personally fixed it. Here we are in Minecraft 1.0.0, released in November 2011, the full release of the game and the first version of the game where the enchanting system core to Minecraft was added. I'm a few days into a new world and have gotten myself some diamond tools. Now I want to enchant them, as is normal when you are entering the mid-game of a new world. So I craft an enchantment table, 15 bookshelves. As we all know, that's the number you need to reach level 30 and set things up. Brilliant, there we go. Let's get to enchant it. Wait a minute, why isn't it level 30? Why the hell doesn't it even go above 20? Why is the order messed up? And why can't I preview what enchantment I want? What the hell is this? Welcome to Enchanting in Minecraft 1.0.0, where you need a whopping 30 bookshelves to reach the max level of not 30 but 50 levels. Something like this used to be a common sight back in the early Minecraft days. Alright, we've got our bookshelves, now we can do our nice big level 50 enchant, right? Why does it still not go above 30? This is the second quirk of Minecraft's old enchanting system. You weren't guaranteed a max level enchantment just because you had enough bookshelves. Come on guys, that's way too well designed for 2011 Minecraft. Instead, you have to spend dozens of minutes, if not hours, clicking your item in and out of the enchantment table, giving you a new range of enchantments and levels to choose from, because making your enchanting system an extremely boring version of Cookie Clicker is just great game design.
Probably gonna have to speed it forward because 50 takes the goddamn forever for me to get for some reason.
That's right, as iJevon says, it takes forever to get to level 50. Even anything over 40 seems to be a rare sight. And the funniest thing is, whilst you mindlessly stood there clicking for minutes on end, there was also a really good chance that you would accidentally get 50 and skip over it, thus restarting the entire frustrating cycle all over again.
So I finally got level 50. If you paid close attention to me skipping through, I actually missed 2 level 50s like a jackass, so...
I personally tried this myself, and after doing this for over 20 minutes, only seeing 40 a handful of times and never 50, I just gave up and did a level 40 enchant, which all things considered was pretty good, but like I said, even levels in the 40s can take a few minutes of left clicking to show up. Imagine doing this all only to get knockback 2 on your sword. Jesus, that would be infuriating. 33 levels for sharpness 2? Get stuffed. By the way, I was using the faster method of resetting the enchantments, which I came across due to an old Etho video. If I was doing it the normal way, which everyone else was at the time, this would have taken another additional 10 minutes. This is crazy. Looking back, it's insane just how poorly this enchantment system was designed. Oh, and there's another 2 things you should know. Look at my XP. I went from level 50 all the way back to 10, and there's no enchantment preview system here either. That's right, unlike today's enchanting system where you only use 3 levels upon doing a max enchant, here every single level you had was used. And also unlike today, you couldn't spend a few levels to reset the table until you got an enchantment you wanted, as it was pure RNG. This whole system is made even worse by the fact that back then, it was so much harder to get XP. There were no donut in the sky pigment farms, no super fast enderman farms, you couldn't even get XP from mining or smelting. The only way to get XP was from mobs, and because the game wasn't as technologically advanced, almost nobody had big XP farms yet. The more advanced players at the time only had access to dungeon farms, which also took so much longer to grind because there was no sweeping edge sword enchantment or natural sword cleave effect, meaning you had to kill the mobs one by one by hand. It also took much longer to gather XP in these older versions. For example, back in 1.0.0, to get to 50 levels, it took a grand total of 4,625 XP, and for reference, today it takes about 1,395 XP to get to level 30, 70% less XP for a max level enchantment. Just another layer of difficulty for the time. My point is, it would take hours to get level 50 back in old Minecraft. It would then take what feels like hours to get a high level roll in the enchantment table, mindlessly sitting there clicking, praying you don't finally get 50 then reset it. Then the enchantment you got was complete RNG. You couldn't preview it nor control it in any way. The only thing you knew is that the more desirable enchantments were more likely to turn up with more levels, and once you finally slammed the enchant button, if it wasn't something you liked, too bad. Go grind up your XP for hours again. Take it from BugmanCX, who does a Minecraft series where he plays through Minecraft's earliest versions to the most recent, and he'll give you his opinions on this enchantment system after becoming accustomed to the modern one.
It's gotta be said, this was worse than grinding for the levels. At least with the levels, I don't have to look at the screen so much. But this required my eyes to focus on the screen, waiting for that magical 5-0 to appear. It was so much clicking that I had to set up an auto hotkey script to send the double clicks from my keyboard. Over 40 minutes of cycling through the table. That was literally the most mind-numbing thing I have ever done. Is it really worth all that effort? These enchants are okay, but is it really worth all that grinding and then waiting for the level 50 to appear on the enchanting table? This is literally the grindiest episode that I've had to do in ages. My levels have now reset to 0. I gotta start from scratch.
Oh yeah, we haven't talked about that yet, have we? But guess what? Back in Minecraft 1.0.0, there was no anvil, no enchanted books, no combining tools together to get the best enchantments. What you got from the table is what you were stuck with. And considering that diamonds in general were a lot more rare due to fortune being harder to obtain and players' mining strategies not being nearly as efficient, it meant that you really didn't want to have a bunch of wasted diamond tools with bad enchantments lying around. That being said, you could remove enchantments from your tool by combining it with a damaged version of the same tool, ideally one which was almost broken so you weren't wasting diamonds. However, that also meant that the hours upon hours of mind-numbing grinding that led you to finally getting that perfect enchantment on your pick or sword would ultimately be in vain, as once that tool was close to breaking, there was no repairing it. No mending, of course, and no anvil meant your tools and armor would be doomed to eventually break. All these factors combined meant that having higher level enchanted diamond tools, or good lord, armor, don't even bother with enchanted diamond armor because it was so difficult to get. I mean, here, even Ethos wearing enchanted iron armor instead was such an impressive feat. Impressive, just like how we recently reached 700k subs. I'm aiming for 750k by the end of the year, so consider subscribing if you haven't already. No pressure. After a few months of this god-awfully grindy enchanting system, Minecraft 1.3.1 would eventually release in mid-2012. And with it, the maximum enchantment level was lowered to 30, the third enchanting slot in the table was now always the highest, and experience became much easier to obtain and could also be obtained from other sources like mining ores. In 1.4.2 not long after as well, anvils were also added, meaning you could combine enchantments and tools together, as well as fix your damaged tools and gear. Now to be clear, this system was still notably more grindy than what we have today, but compared to the original enchantment system, was a walk through the park. While you didn't have to spend hours clicking over and over to get to level 50, enchantment still took all your XP, which despite now being easier to obtain, was still comparatively more difficult compared to today's standards due to lack of widespread super fast XP farms. You still couldn't preview what enchantment you would get either, it was all still down to chance. And there was still no mending, meaning your tools would eventually become too expensive to repair and would break. That being said, I'd argue this enchanting system ranging from 1.3.1 to 1.7.10 was the most balanced form of enchanting Minecraft ever had, as in Minecraft 1.8, the core functionality of the modern enchantment system we have today was finally introduced. You could now preview enchantments only took away 1, 2, 3 levels, and in the coming years, mending would be added. Nowadays, getting a maxed set of tools and armor is relatively straightforward. XP did get slightly harder to obtain once again, but this nerf was ultimately cancelled out by the greater ease of XP farms available. Today, enchanting is easy. It's not a matter of if you would get to those enchants you wanted, as it was back in 1.0.0, and even to an extent in versions prior to 1.8, but simply a matter of when. Maxed gear is no longer a rare sight to behold. But is that such a bad thing? While I still do believe that the 1.3.1 to 1.7.10 enchanting system was the most balanced, is enchanting really something that needs to be grindy? Obviously, the first enchantment system was an utter travesty, one that looking back is something we should be glad was mostly abandoned during the game's earlier years. But I think there's one thing we can take away from this system that newer Minecraft is ultimately missing. Back in 2011 and 2012, when we had the first enchanting system, if you played on survival servers or your own survival world at the time, finding and obtaining a diamond sword with as low as sharpness 3 was a big deal. I'll give you an example. In late 2011 and early 2012, during 1.0.0, there was a somewhat popular Minecraft survival server called the Hardcore SMP, where if you died, you would be banned for 15 days. It's probably the closest thing from the time to the average lifesteal, crystal PvP, or vanilla anarchy raiding type survival server, which is very popular today. Infamous griefing group Team Abolition would make 2 videos playing on it at the time, and it's a server which really represented what early Minecraft survival was like. Upon rewatching, one thing which is interesting to note is that unlike all modern survival servers, where virtually all players have maxed netherite gear or diamond gear, here it's far more common to see people running around in iron with only a handful having the luxury to create diamond tools, let alone diamond armor.
This fucking
That's new.
asshole keeps setting me on fire. We have a situation, dude.
I want that sword. Is it enchanted?
It's sharpness, knockback, and fire aspect.
Oh my god, I want it.
Players who had enchanted diamond gear or weapons on this server were at the very top in terms of power, and even coming across a player who just had a fire aspect sword meant they were extremely strong. What I'm trying to say is that unlike servers of today, where everybody has at the very least max enchanted gear, back then, because of the way the enchantment system worked being so grindy, it meant that simple enchantments like fire aspect and protection and higher levels of sharpness were extremely rare and coveted. You would almost never see a sharpness 4 sword. A sharpness 5 sword was basically not even existent on a server due to it requiring 50 levels and being super unlikely to get. Even in Minecraft 1.3.1, when enchanting was made easier, due to the randomness of the enchants and the greater XP required, having a sharpness 4 sword and protection 2 or 3 armor was seriously impressive. I remember playing on faction servers at the time where a sharpness 5 fire aspect 2 sword without knockback was genuinely the most valuable and sought after item on the server. Nowadays, such items with enchantments are common. The older Minecraft enchanting system gave scarcity, rarity, and value to high level enchantments. Even whilst recording that clip earlier where I did a high level enchantment after 20 minutes, I got excited to see what I would get, a feeling you never get with the new consistent enchanting system. Enchantments genuinely felt rare and powerful. If you had a sharpness 5 diamond sword, there was a good chance you had the only one on the server. That kind of rarity makes survival all the more enjoyable and exhilarating in my opinion, and is something which has been lost from modern survival as players have their shulkers upon shulkers of max gear. But is today's enchanting system a bad thing? No, I think ultimately the system we have today is pretty much ideal, and I wouldn't change it even if I were given the chance, as excessive and mindless grinding isn't really that fun now, is it? However, I've personally tried to recreate the same scarcity and rarity the old enchantment system provided in a different way. My Minecraft server recently released a Civilizations game mode with guilds, otherwise known as factions. Because just like older survival servers, there is a strong emphasis on PvP, grinding, and raiding, I wanted to add a form of scarce but powerful item just like old Minecraft had, but of which could be obtained in a more enjoyable way. Let me give you an example. This is the Demonic Sword, the most powerful sword in the game, and my attempt to recreate the same rarity a sharpness 5 sword used to have. In order to have a chance at obtaining this legendary sword, you have to beat one of the server's multiple Dark Souls-esque custom bosses at their most challenging difficulty, Nightmare, which mind you, will one-shot you with most attacks. Another way I'm going to let players work to obtain this sword in the near future as well is through the upcoming custom dungeon, where they will have to complete a complex puzzle to access a hidden room with a chest. These two methods both require quite a grind to complete, but this grind is much more fun, engaging, and interactive rather than Minecraft enchantment table cookie clicker. I did the same for the server's other legendary items, like this bow which strikes players with lightning when they are hit, and this high level custom armor. And since I also wanted to make enchantments which were rare but more obtainable, like sharpness 4 and fire aspect, once again scarce, there are very powerful weapons one tier down from legendary known as Epic that can also be obtained through harder bosses, server-wide King of the Hill events, as well as dungeons soon. Here is the Epic rarity Broadsword of the Forest, which gives you the regeneration effect whilst you're holding it. So basically now there exist items with abilities and enchantments above vanilla that recreate the power, rarity, and scarcity of the old enchantment system, but this time in a more fun way. When people see these weapons, they immediately know whoever's holding it is a strong player, just as they used to with the old high-level enchantments. You should all come check out the server as well, and let me know what you think about this alternate solution. That about wraps it up though. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to subscribe and check out my Patreon. Thank you all so much for watching.